Eisenberg here, and I'm smiling because I'm delighted to have you join me on the very first Fiverr experience with Dina Eisenberg. I am, of course, Dina Eisenberg, outsourcing goddess, sustainable income coach, and founder of OutsourceEasier.com, and the very first referral directory for micro businesses, Dina's Rolodex. So, I love Fiverr and I think it's a great tool, but I don't think you should take my word for that. I think that you should have an opportunity to experience Fiverr from the perspective of the folks who have been using that platform, both as a buyer and a seller. So today, I'm so excited to have with me Dr. Julie Connor. Dr. Julie Connor is both a goal setting expert. So if you have goals that you want to get to, she can help you reach them. She's also a social media strategist. And we all know how important that is these days when social media is the best way to reach out and touch your tribe or your audience. So I'm excited to have her here and talk a little bit about what she does. And then I'm going to ask her the hard questions about, why she chose Fiverr and what's her experience been like. So let's just welcome Julie. Hey, Julie.
Hi, Dina. How are you?
I am good. I'm excited to talk to you. We got through our tech glitches to get started, and now we're ready to roll. Will you tell me a little bit about your practice and what you do as a goal-setting expert?
Well, I have been helping organizations and churches and schools in particular get clear about their vision, align their goals with their mission, and set a program of success that launched them into action in ways that were aligned with their vision and mission. Mm-hmm. I did that for 35 years in schools in particular, and as I was completing my dissertation, our school district downsized and I lost my job. And so when I graduated with a doctorate in education, I had my research in 2 universities. I was walking across the stage as an employee at Macy's picking up clothing from the floors in the dressing rooms because it was the only job I could find at the time. I had what I believed at the time, too much experience, too much education, and I was too expensive for most school districts. And so I had to figure out how to take these organizational goal-setting strategies and make it personal. And it was agony for about 2 years. I didn't have any idea what I wanted to do next. But one thing I learned from many of the 7th graders that I taught for many years, 7th graders are not afraid to jump into the sandbox and break stuff. And that's what I think is so exciting about social media or about moving forward. Start somewhere, do something. And so as I was figuring out my own plan of action, mm-hmm. I was also, didn't know it at the time, launching a new career because people wanted to know what it was that I was doing to reinvent myself. And organizations started to ask for my materials. And somebody finally told me, Julie, you're giving this all away. And why don't you package it in a way that people can use? And so that's how I wrote my book, Dreams to Action, Trailblazer's Guide. And it basically is a 67-page workbook that isn't about me. It's about the person reading it that wants to get clear about what they want to do with their life, define their purpose. And once they get clear, then they can, and especially get clear about what they feel passionate about. Because I think when we listen to our passion and those things that excite us, we can start figuring out a plan after that because it's something that fills us with joy.
That's certainly true, right? The things we get the most excited about, we make time for, we put our energy into, we really focus on. So I totally hear that. And something else that I don't know if people will take out of your comments, which is that you jump-started your career and transitioned to a brand new life at a little bit older than most people would normally do, right? So
absolutely.
Doesn't mean
and another, go ahead.
Doesn't mean that it's just for 20-year-olds, right?
Oh, no. And something in my field, which was education for so many years, typically when people hit 55, they or 65, they retired and they went fishing. And that isn't true anymore. Many people our age want to launch a new career or do what they've always wanted to do. When I received the letter of resignation from the school district, it was like fire in my hands, Dina. It was as if this voice was inside me. You always wanted to launch a new career, Julie. You wanted to speak and inspire others. What are you gonna do now? And so the path that I started following is what launched a new career. And I really believe, especially as entrepreneurs and and blazing a trail as small business owners, if we're not real clear about who we are, what our message is, and how we want to deliver that, we're not going to be effective on social media.
Hmm.
And the thing that I most loved about your book, about Fiverr, about it was it gave I had tools both as president and custodian of my I was the janitor, the president, and every role in between. I didn't have to do it all myself, and I was killing myself trying to do it all, trying to I created my website about 5 years ago, drjulieconnor.com, but it was it was good. It was something. It was a start, but I wanted something
Yeah,
more polished. I wanted a newsletter. I wanted and I also wanted to find ways to market my own talents as a writer and editor. And
right.
so when I started following you and learning about the tools with Fiverr, it was like, oh my goodness, my life got so much simpler. And
Good.
we are a global community,
Yeah.
and the internet allows us to be of help and assistance to one another. And I am going to do a shout out to Wendy McClelland and her
Yes, please. Yes.
because I really believe the most exciting thing about being entrepreneurs is it gives us opportunities to connect and promote one another's good work. And I met you, Dina, through social media with Heart, the
That's right.
Facebook group that was founded by Wendy McClelland. And had I not uh, joined that group with Wendy, I wouldn't have met you.
I think that shout out was totally appropriate. Wendy is terrific. Not only is she a great community gatherer because she brought all of us together, folks who had a really different idea about how social media could work, but she's also just a kick-ass Facebook guru. She really knows how to make Facebook work for her. I'm looking forward to doing a call with her later this summer. And it's
Oh,
so
awesome.
interesting that what you were saying about sort of being at a transition point in life. I work a lot with boomers and what I call senior entrepreneurs. And if you're looking at the stats, it's kind of fascinating to find out that, 67% of folks who are retired are doing something for pay or want to be doing something for pay. And then a
Right.
good percentage of the people who are retired aren't necessarily retired because it was their own desire to stop working. There was some intervening factor. Maybe they got laid
Yes.
off like you did, or there was a health issue for themselves or a challenge for their partner or spouse. And so they weren't necessarily ready to stop working, but circumstances made that their reality. And so I love that you sort of just picked yourself up and transitioned to a new life. I think that that's part of what my calling is because I transitioned to, from being an attorney to being a mediator to being an ombudsman and then having a really robust online career. So I really want to encourage anybody who's watching who thinks, yeah, I have something to offer to actually step up and use the tools that are available to you to do that because there's never going to be a better time than right now.
Absolutely, because right now, so many of these tools are available for free at
Yeah,
no cost, and I believe that is not going to be lasting much longer. I have to share a story. I live outside the Kansas City area, and here we have the entrepreneurial startup community is just booming. It's been
really.
nicknamed by Entrepreneur Magazine and many other startup communities as the Silicon Prairie. Because the thing, startups can be founded at prices that are much cheaper than they are on the coast. And so I found myself going to many of these different kind of workshops and organizations, being surrounded by young people who were very tech savvy. And I kept asking them, the people with the money in their hands are 40 and over that want to be part of this action. Why don't you market to them? And
Yeah.
they'd look at me and they'd nod and they say, well, thanks, Julie. That's a great idea. And it would take another year for me to realize, why don't I do that?
That's
Ding,
right.
it took and that's something I think is really important for us, that can help us learn about, if anyone is wondering about what do I do next? How do I even know? I think social media can be in many ways a vision board, because if we pay attention to who we're following, and what dialogues we want to participate in. Who are we conversing with? What issues are being raised? What kinds of comments are being posted? What kind of website and blogs are we interested in pursuing? Those, when we get a collective understanding of what it is that we're doing in our own behavior, that can become real indicative of the next directional arrow. Because I really believe we can look at obstacles in two ways. We can view obstacles as challenges, and challenges become obstacles that block us from going where we want to go, or we can view challenges as directional arrows that point us in new directions. And when I was doing a lot of things with goal setting strategies, both as an individual personal coach and goal setting strategist. And organizations would invite me to come in and they'd say, can you stay a half hour and do a lunch and learn, or some kind of short presentation? But when social media came up,
Yeah.
and it would take, like I said before, it would take another year for me to catch on to the meat that was going on in those dialogues, because they would say, well, if you can talk a little bit about social media and bring
Yeah.
that in your presentation, can you come stay the night before if we put you up in a hotel? Rather than doing a lunch and learn, can you stay all day and do an in-service? And I started paying attention to who I was following online. Yeah, some of the people were also goal-setting strategists, but I wanted to know what Guy Kawasaki was doing,
Yeah.
and Peg Fitzpatrick, and some of the Rebecca Radice,
Yep.
and I started engaging with them. And I'm really glad that I did that, because I learned a lot from them. And one of the things I've also learned about engagement is it gives us opportunities to support one another.
Yes.
Rebecca Radice gave me a wonderful review for my book. And Guy Kawasaki asked me to be one of the reviewers for his book, The Art of Social Media, and then The Art of the Start 2.0. And so
Isn't
when,
he a great guy? You would think
oh
that
my
somebody
gosh,
like
yeah.
that would be unreachable, but he's very accessible, friendly guy.
Well, that's something I also learned about as an entrepreneur, is the most successful entrepreneurs are the ones that are accessible. And they do have time to respond back, and they know and they understand. And I think this is the most important thing about social media, Dina, and I know you get it too, is it's not about self-promotion. It's about building relationships.
Yeah, very much so. So I actually want you to talk a little bit about Fiverr and what you bought on Fiverr, and then transition into telling us a little bit about how you became a seller, because I know folks are going to be interested in that.
Well, I went to Fiverr, like I said before, because I finally hit a wall with, I'm very good at social media, but hello?
Yeah, I'm still here. We're listening.
Oh, okay. Everything went away. Here we go.
Uh-oh, you're still going.
And that's technology. We jump back in and we keep going no matter what.
Going.
Uh, I started in with Fiverr by finding somebody. It started with uh, a video. Somebody was doing video for me, and
Hmm.
I needed what he called a vector image, and
Yeah.
I had no idea what that
What the
was.
heck that is? Yeah.
And so I had just found you on social media with hearts, and I had seen some of the posts that you had about Fiverr. And so I went to the website, and you talked about the importance of outsourcing and how we don't have to do it all by ourselves. And
Yep.
these people, like you said, were people that were skilled, that could do it much faster than we could. And so first off, I contacted somebody. I just did a search on Fiverr, vector image. And then I started looking at some of the different images that different people who promoted that product, and they offer reviews on
Yep.
Fiverr that I really appreciate, because I knew I was dealing with somebody that had some expertise in this area. And
Yep.
I expected him to laugh at me, because my first question was, I need a vector image, but I don't know what it is. And he wrote me back and he said, send me your logo. And he was very helpful, because through Fiverr, you can also contact the person before you hire them for services.
Right. That's
And
one of the things I recommend. I just want to pause for a second. That's something I recommend highly in the book and to all my clients is before you engage anybody on Fiverr, Eland, Upwork, or any of the platforms, make sure you have a chance to contact them first and explain what it is you want to make sure you're absolutely going to be able to get the result you're looking for.
right, and then go into detail. And I found, I'm a baby boomer, and sometimes we have a hard time asking for help, and being clear about what we want. And so I explained exactly what I wanted. He sent me back like 6 different images that I could use instead.
Wow.
And he was so helpful. I jumped on board. And the wonderful thing about Fiverr, and this is the thing that I love the most, because since then, I've not only been able to get a vector image, um, I've been able to get I've been able to get some flyers made,
Oh,
header, an intro and an outro for a video. But the thing I appreciate most is when you have these good $5 experiences, they with recommendations, and we've started to build a relationship.
yep.
Then I want to know, what else do you do? Because now the gentleman who was so patient with me with the flyer, also is going, I just spoke with him this morning about helping me develop my email
Perfect.
flyer that I'm going to send out every week. And he specializes in MailChimp, and he was just awesome in terms of, once we have these, even if any of these experiences had been poor experiences, which they were not. I have not had a poor experience yet. But if
Yay.
I had, being out $5, big deal. It's much better than being out $2,500 for somebody that I didn't have an idea of their services. So I can build up, as I build this relationship, I find out more what skills they have to offer and how I can most easily take advantage of it.
I love that you figured that out because that's something that I offer my clients is the idea that when I'm curating a provider for a client, I'm not just looking at the one task you're doing now. I'm trying to find out, can this provider serve you over a couple of different projects that you'll need on an ongoing basis? So to your point,
Right.
you are creating an ongoing virtual team that knows you, knows the way you like to get things done, knows your business, and is happy to support you at a price point that you really can afford.
Very good. Yes, absolutely.
So tell us
And
about
some,
your experiences as a seller now.
well, that's something that led quite nicely from the part as a buyer, is some of the people that I was working with also noticed when, because we check each other out, it's a
Yeah.
dual relationship, and they know that I offer editing. I have been editing research for years, and it never occurred to me to offer those services. And so one of the first things I did was I checked out. I made a list of some of the skills that I offer, and then I started doing a search again to find out who's offering things like I do, who's willing to offer editing skills, and who's willing to offer a product review. And so I went online and I looked to see what other people were doing. For me, as an editor, you know, I thought, how in the world do I offer a an editing opportunity to somebody who wants to have their ebook or their novel or even an article for a class that they're getting ready to submit, or an article they may submit to a journal. How do I package this into a small $5 product? And what I learned by looking at what some of the other sellers are offering is to offer a $5 1,000 word review.
Yep.
And then that gives them, once again, it gives them the sample of the kind of editing I do. And I did my homework. I watched the Fiverr videos. I read your
Good
book.
for you.
I looked to see what other people were doing.
Yep.
And when I went and built my own seller um,
Profile.
profile, thank you. When
You're
I
welcome.
developed my own, I realized that all of these things on the internet, people respond to, they like rich content, but they also want strong visuals. And so
Yes.
I went to my favorite Canva and and developed images that that showed examples. I set them up according to the the parameters for images, and so I was able to not only post that I do editing and I offer product and book reviews, but I was also able to do screenshots of those kinds of reviews that I offer, and do screenshots of novels that I've edited, and then provide those on my website or on my profile, so that when somebody goes to goes to my profile and is looking to check out some of those services, they can see what my feedback will look like should they decide to purchase that for themselves.
I love that because it's actually kind of a power seller move there, Julie,
Oh,
in
thank you.
that not many people know when they set up their seller profile. You know, Fiverr prompts you to do a video, which you absolutely should do. And, you know, if that's not something you want to do in terms of appearing on camera, that's fine. You can use Animoto to put together a great short video for Fiverr. But the really power move that people might not think about, particularly if you have a service that you're offering like you do and like I do, you're thinking, what visual can I put to that service? Fiverr gives you 5 image slots in addition to the video, and you want to use every one of those slots. And you can do exactly what Julie did, which is think about the images that represent your work, or whether or not you can actually take a screen capture of your work somehow and represent that in those 5 images, because people actually do look at them. I saw a great copywriter the other day, and basically he used his 5 slots to give more reasons. So he just wrote the reason on the card. Now, we'll
Oh,
get
how
more
funny.
traffic, right? Not a big deal, but something that's the benefit that of using him, that he turned into a visual that you could see. So kudos to you for figuring that out. Definitely a power move for somebody who's thinking about becoming a seller on Fiverr. I think you followed the absolute right path. You identified what tasks that you could offer for $5 that you could do in under 10 minutes. It has to be a speedy task. You went ahead and did your due diligence on the site to see, where do I fit in with what's already being offered? And that's kind of a key point, because you don't want to be a copycat, but you don't want to be standing out like a sore thumb, so that no, your gig is so different no one will pick you. People like to be sort of in the mainstream, so you want to be like everybody else, but a little bit different. I think you did a great job with that, Julie.
I think one thing that I also learned is how important it is to be clear in the content.
Mm.
I picked up another task, another service to offer, was when I first offered to offer reviews for books and written work, and somebody wrote me through contact me and said, "Do you review products as well?" And at the time I thought, no, I don't. But then I added that as an extra service. I think it's really important for us to be clear with the people that are coming to our site about what it is we offer, because some of the people that wanted product reviews were willing to pay me $5 for offering a 5-star review for their product unseen. Just go to their website and write a review, a
Yep.
5-star review. And I was clear on my profile, and I was honest in my response. I would love to, is there a way for me to sample your work or to physically hold your work? Because I'm not going to offer a 5-year or a 5-star review for something I haven't seen. That's unethical. And
Good for you.
so, but it's up to us to be clear. It's not up to the customer. It's up to us to be
Yeah.
clear.
And so that's actually a good point. I want to just hone in with everybody before we close out, which is if you're actually going to be a seller, it takes a little bit more effort than just deciding the gig. You have to break it down into its components, the basic elements of that are included in the gig, and then be very clear about what you will and you won't do. So there have been times when I've been looking for instance, a banner maker, and they will say, I don't do adult work or I don't do blah, blah, blah. For you, but someone who is looking for, this is kind of a bad example, but an adult industry work, somebody who indicates that on their profile, I don't mind doing adult work, is going to get a ton of work because most people don't accept that. So you really have to be clear about what you will accept, and it's okay if you want to say no to something. You just have to recognize that means you're in some way impacting your revenue, your income. But it's totally your choice if you don't want to do that. One of my gigs is providing people with, because I actually do have gigs on Fiverr too. One of my gigs is providing people with my opinion about what they should do in terms of having a gig on Fiverr. And so I make it clear that I want you to know and tell me what areas you're interested in. I can't just guess out of the clear blue sky what you're going to be good at. And I try to make that clear as part of my seller profile. I need that kind of information. The clearer you are, the happier buyers are. Happier buyers are, the better you get 5 stars. More 5 stars just means that you're going to actually get more and more business. And what I love about what you're doing, Julie, is that you're sort of using your Fiverr gig as a loss leader. For folks who are familiar with retail strategies, just like at Target when they get you in on the bargain thing and then you spend more money than you intended at the store. Kind of the
Yes,
same
indeed.
deal. Right? So they spend $5 with you, maybe getting those first 1,000 words, but usually it's not just 1,000 words, it's many more 1,000 words in the ebook. And that's the opportunity for them to sample you and then decide to hire you off the platform as their editor for their book or their ebook. So kudos.
Thank you. And thank you to you. Had it not been for the direction I found in your book and for some of the comments that you're offering on social media, I would have never known Fiverr existed. And then after reading your material, I learned how to best leverage Fiverr in a way that's profitable and successful.
That is so cool. So thank you, Julie, for pointing that out. I appreciate the recognition. I'm going to sort of ask you a question a little off script. So if somebody is watching this and they're excited and they want to become a seller, what are the 2 things you're going to tell them they should actually start doing right now to make that happen?
What do they want to sell?
They want
clear.
Yeah, okay. Is that your
Yeah, get clear about what they want to sell. And I would definitely check out who else is selling it. And get familiar with like you said, a lot of people they want to be in the mainstream, and they want you to use language that's clear and understanding. I definitely would have. I'm giving you a 3rd tip.
That's okay.
But okay, but once you get clear, I would strongly suggest find couple people you trust and have them proofread it.
Yeah.
And, it may be, I've lost count of the number of times I thought things were clear to me, and then I found out it wasn't clear to someone else. I come from academia, so people often say, Julie, people don't talk like that. And so, and so it's important to get feedback before you launch it out there, and then go for it. Do it. Get started.
There's absolutely no harm in getting started. I love those tips. So decide what you want to do. Find out what other people are doing so you can be in line but also stand out. And then just go ahead and do it.
Do
Julie's
it.
absolutely right. There's no downside to having a Fiverr gig that doesn't do anything. Because, I'll be just totally honest. I started my gig in 2011 when I wrote my book because I wanted to understand what the platform was like from the seller's perspective so I could better inform my buyers. But I didn't do a thing with my gig until a couple of months ago, maybe even a month ago. So if you decide you want to start and then you just don't do anything with it, there's no worries. You can always pick it up later. But if you do start and you start to get a little traction and you kind of get some gigs, it's kind of like potato chips. When you have one, you want to have a few more. So
Indeed.
so I would say try it. I'm
Get in
just
the Fiverr, get in the Fiverr sandbox, and don't be afraid to break stuff.
That's right. Break stuff, baby. So this is Dr. Julie Connor and Dina Eisenberg wishing you a wonderful day, leaving you with these words: stop doing everything yourself. Signing off.